Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your Friday night. It's not another Rangers podcast after 48 hours after what's probably the weakest, most woeful, most embarrassing result probably in Rangers' European recent history. So, still 40 hours. I was actually thinking that when I was writing the agenda. It seems like days upon weeks upon months that went by, and it was actually only 40 hours of drama and tribulations and anger and angst ever since then. So, we're going to delve into that tonight, and hopefully at some point in time we might preview an Old Firm game as well. Apparently there's one of them on Sunday. So I'm delighted to. I'm your host Gary. So please like, share, and subscribe. We were talking a couple of days ago. We've had a lot of viewers last couple of times, maybe because we're struggling in terms of Rangers, but we do appreciate all the extra viewers. Please like, share, subscribe, join us. The comments are already going rapid on the side, so we will try and keep up with them as best we can. I'm delighted to be joined by three excellent panelists. Well, three panelists that will join me this evening, and they'll try and bring some positivity back over the course of tonight. So we have Cameron, who's back joining us again. So your first week with us was probably the worst result for Rangers that we could have had, and you've come back on Friday. It's good to see you.
Just wanted to spread some of the negativity, Gary.
The more the merrier, as I say, when we're going to criticise from there. And Scott's only popped up the road. He's left the Rangers training centre with his placard saying Martin out just to come back for this podcast. So he's back, and he's going straight back over there after, aren't you, Scott? How are you doing?
I went back up to get my bed sheet, Gary, because I'm left in the cupboard. I needed it for my bed. No, listen, before we start, everybody thinks it's great being negative, isn't it? And I hate being negative about Rangers because I want to talk about us winning games, challenging for stuff. But we don't see the only people that see positivity is Gary, and I've not heard anybody else, to be honest with you, maybe Ross. And that's not a bad thing because we're all looking for some positivity. But all the rest of the podcasts I've listened to, even just fans in general I've spoke to, everybody's going down this one route at this moment in time. Is it good for the club? No. Is it good for us? Like Gary said, maybe for viewers, but not a lot else. But I don't know where we go, Gary, to be honest with you. We'll talk about it. But at this moment in time, I was just surprised about the result. I was surprised it wasn't more. To be honest, that was my only surprise. I think at half time, being 5-0 down, I said to my wife, this is going to be double figures, easy. But Brugge just took the foot off the gas, replaced a few players. You can say we performed better because they changed the shape, but we're not 5-0 at half time. You come out the second half and you think, this game's a piece of piss. I'm just playing for 45 minutes and go up the road. You don't try anymore, do you?
No. So just to clarify there, so I don't think I'm being positive. I'm sure that introduction was saying it was woeful. It's the worst Rangers performance I've ever seen.
I know, but in general, you're always positive compared to me and Ricky.
Is there's realism in some of these things, and there's always two sides to every story. So what we'll try and do in this pod, because I like you, I've listened to lots of the other ones over the last few days, and everybody's raging, everybody's negative, everybody is wanting them out. We don't. There's other angles to explore, I think, sometimes, and we will try and do that as well, as obviously, because it's never as black and white as some would have you believe on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. Especially, I think the world is no grey areas in Twitter. But Ricky, you're a man of Twitter, or X as it's called, and you're regularly engaged with the other supporters on there. So people will be waiting for a rant at some point tonight, and I'm sure there will be one. But you've been busy digging up a swimming pool, or digging up some bodies or something like that.
Yeah, no, I was for laughing at my wife because she said to me just 5 minutes before I came on there, she says, "Oh, you've been drinking and eating a lot more this week. What's the matter with you?" And I said, "It's Russell Martin's fucking fault." And she's like, "Who's Russell Martin?" So he's getting the blame for everything, man. But I'm in Kerr's camp 100%, mate. I sent him the spray paint by DHL to get the bit for the bed sheet, mate, just to get that up to Ibrox and get that tied to the gates, and that's not going to change, man. You're on about other angles. The only angle is what is the best angle that we can put steel toe cap boots on and boot Russell Martin right in the balls, mate, because the guy is an absolute fraud, and the quicker we get him out of our football team, the better, 100%, mate. There's no other angles. There is zero positivity with this guy. The board have made a massive mistake, and when you make a massive mistake, there's two ways it can go. you either double down and continue with that massive mistake, or you try and rectify. You stand up, be a man as a board. Everyone stand up and admit we made a mistake with this guy, and rectify it. And the fans will not. It will take a long time, but the fans will be able to heal, Gary. But at the end of the day, mate, that on Tuesday night. We're all different ages on this panel. I don't know what the age cam is. I'm 46.
Is that what you meant? We're all young and stuff.
Yeah, Kerr's obviously a bit older than us all. And every pod has said exactly the same. They've never seen a Rangers performance as bad as what happened on Tuesday night, mate. So how we can speak about positives after that, I'll never know. But let's give it a go. Let's see where the podcast goes, mate.
We are going to try. We're going to try at some points, just because, or else we're just repeating what everybody else has said all week. So we are going to pick the bones out the game against Club Brugge. We're not going to go over the instance, team lineups and all that carry out in a lot of detail because it was a horrendous couple of hours for everybody involved. We will talk about Russell Martin and his future or lack thereof, as well as his press conference today. We will pick up on the Europa League draw, which is actually quite an interesting thing, quite a good thing. In normal life, that would be quite fun to be talking about, as well as some transfers in, transfers out, and a big Old Firm game on Sunday. So lots and lots to cover. So while I may cut you off at some points because we'll never get through it all otherwise in the space of an hour, I genuinely appreciate every comment you make for this. So on to the game, right? In terms of the game, I suppose we weren't confident before it. I'll go with you, Ricky, first. We weren't confident before it. We didn't expect it to be an easy ride. However, as we said there, it probably turned out to be one of the worst and most abysmal. But I think the most frightening thing was how so many of the players just looked like a rabbit caught in the headlights and chucked it, didn't do their jobs properly. Arguably, that's Martin as well. My
problem, Gary, is the way the manager speaks before the match, right? And there's a difference between being positive for the supporters. I don't expect Russell Martin to come in an interview before the match and turn around and say, oh, I expect us to be an absolute disaster tonight, right? But you cannot continue to tell us as supporters, this is what's going to happen. This is what my team is going to be like. This is what I am expecting from the players. You're going to get a fast start. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. We're going to run more. We're going to do this. And then the exact opposite happens on the football park. It doesn't matter that Max Aarons got sent off. They were absolutely all over us from this. We always start good for the first 2-3 minutes, Gary, for some reason. And then as soon as the team works us out, as soon as what their manager has told them about us, where all the space is and everything like that, they absolutely toy with us. The first goal, the lack of desire from Ant-Man, Aaron's all over the place again, right? Our defence, when the ball comes in, of course, Bruges players are going to run off you to score goals, and that happened for almost every. We've got statues in the box, Gary, and even if we had 11 men, it was going to be exactly the same. It was worse, it was going to be worse, maybe because it was away from home. It was going to be worse than what happened at Ibrox. So my big problem is I said this last week, it's with everything to do with Rangers because the players are absolutely pathetic. We're making excuses for them. I've heard podcasts, everyone is saying everything is going to be okay. Let's get rid of Russell Martin and everything. These are good players. These are great players. Honestly, Gary, show me on the park that you're a great player. Any one of these players, because I'm not seeing it with any of these players. I am seeing nothing but pathetic, gutless wankers that are wearing our Rangers jersey. And I'm sorry to swear, and I'm sorry to be as passionate as that, but it makes you angry. These guys are paying £500, £600 to get over to Bruges. Like 38 hours to go. Like some of these guys are no sleeping to go to that stadium to watch that team, and that is what that team puts up. That the players think that that's okay. Forget about Russell Martin to play like that. The whole thing, Gary, completely stinks, and it's got to change very fast, mate. Because Ibrox is going to rightly let these players and manager and owners know what we think about them on Sunday against Celtic, and they will deserve every single boo, every single jeer and every single negative comment that goes their way, they will deserve on Sunday. It has to get better. We can blame the manager, and I am blaming the manager, but it is a collective, Gary. Bruges had us on toast with 11 men, 10 men, you name it, and it was absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, and before I come to the question I was going to ask you there, Cam, so I've seen a point from Mark there. So if Rangers played Club Brugge last season, we would have beat them. Now, we played USG, who actually won the league in Belgium last year, and beat them relatively comfortably. If I remember rightly, it was a pretty straightforward game. I think it was 2-1 or 3-1, I can't remember exactly. But so I suppose part of the issue, as Mark says, is that we are not a team that should be far inferior to the team that we played against you in the week.
No, well, I made the point earlier today that the majority of that team got to a European quarter-final. I don't think you need to rip it up, the whole thing. Now, the difference, I think, probably with last season is the manager, mainly, with Clement, is that he tactically against the big teams, his style of football worked because it was all about transitions, win the ball high up the pitch and an attack with pace. So there's an argument where maybe we'd have done better. Would we have won? I don't know. That's the honest question, because we did put some horrid performances in at times as well. But yeah, I mean, one of the stats that I saw, I didn't watch the game Wednesday, but one of the stats from Wednesday was they had 32 shots.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had 26 of them were inside our box. Now, that's not players, that's tactical negligence from the manager, in my personal opinion. If your back four are getting battered, you stick 5 in midfield and you create a screen in front to protect the back four, and maybe you tell them to drop 10 yards deep. I have seen the first goal, and the first goal, let's talk about positive. The positive was at least Aarons was willing to track his runner to cover the centre halves this time, because the last few times there's been no runner. They've literally just ran straight through. So all he's done, he's made that curve run from the far side, so it's just full back. It's a long diag over the top. So there's one positive there to take, is that we've got a full back who'll actually cover his centre backs. The downside of that was his decision making was just so poor. But when you play at a high press, you can't give the opposition fullbacks the opportunity to lift their head up and play that pass. So it comes a combination from not pressing from the front. But if I don't know if we beat Bruges last season with that team, I don't know, because the problem that we had with last season's team was it was so unpredictable. You never knew what was going to turn up. So I don't know is the answer.
No, I think, Scott, I'm going to come to you then. So just, I mean, I know we're going to criticise Russell Martin in a minute for those that are desperate for that bit to start, but I want to pick up just on the game again. So obviously we had some notable failures and I've picked out a few. So Max Aarons doesn't do the basics that he runs, but then just decides, I can't be bothered, pull the guy down. And as you say, Asgard didn't press in the first place, was allowed the ball to come over the top. But for the first goal, that man just stands and watches the guy run and cross it in. Gassama, I remember doing it for third or fourth or fifth goal, or when it was. He just stands and watches the guy go by him, and we beat umpteen headers they had in goal. That necessarily isn't tactical. A lot of that was just lack of desire, lack of heart, lack of effort from a number of players.
As Gary, as that, but also it's, you go back to how they're set up, and some of these players, listen, I've said it for every manager. I've said it with Clement. I've said it with Barry Ferguson. You have to be adaptable, and Barry Ferguson was probably the only one that was more adaptable than anybody, even though we did lose some stupid games under Barry. But he could adapt, he could change things in games if he's seen it going wrong. Sometimes it didn't work, sometimes it did. But the other night, we were still having 2 centre backs sitting in opposition's half, and when we were pressing or trying to defend, and Aarons gets sent off because of that, because Giga and Suter in the other half. And that boy makes a run because there's space there. So Aarons has to follow him. And instead of just letting him go and saying, like, I'll leave it to the keeper, he pulls him down. Does he pull him down because he's chucked it, or does he pull him down because he thinks, no, he's not getting away from me? It could be either. But I think it has to come back to, and even when we went 1-0 down, you're thinking, right, I agree with Cameron. Right, everybody, sit deeper. Don't concede again for another 10, 15 minutes. But then, before you know it, it's 3, 4, 5, and you're thinking, fuck's sake, double figures. So I think Martin has to take into account, he's got this style he wants to play. And there's a lot of managers like that. Ruben Aberdeen's another one who his job's hanging by a fucking thread. But sometimes you can have all this stuff in your head you want to do, and you can use PowerPoint to your blow in the face, and it looks great. You can set up your tactics board, whatever, and everything's fantastic in your iPad. But on the park, you need energy, and he always talks about energy and running. He's got Joe Rothwell there, who I can run faster, and I've got more stamina, and I'm 52. So it's like, it's fine if you've got the players for that system, but at this moment in time, he hasn't. So he has to adapt. And sometimes you have to adapt game by game. We've seen it before. And it's like, if Sunday comes and we lose an early goal, what does he do? Does he change it? Probably not. So yeah, you've got to blame the players for maybe effort and aggression. Because I do agree with you. I do think after the same one, and someone just went, so this, we're getting thumped here. But they're looking at the bench and they're not getting him back. Manager saying, Ant-Man doesn't come in to defend Gary. I know he has to, that's part of football. But he come in to go that way, same Miggy Sama. We were promised attacking, pressing, football with energy, and everything Russell Martin has said has been the opposite. So sometimes if it's not working, change it slightly until you get these players, which he's trying to do, and then come out and say this is how it should have been. But don't keep trying something it's not worked so far. But no, I think, listen, I don't think Brugge are great. I think they're a very good team with some very good players. But I don't think they're great. But when they put against us all night, it was like a training session for them. They didn't have any opposition. They didn't have anybody breathing down their necks. They didn't have nothing. And they probably get a wee better from the last, when they played us at Ibrox, when Martin said in the second half we were all better. We weren't that great in the second half. Buckland still had more save to make. And their goalie. But they probably thought they had, doesn't matter what they do, we were going to cause more own problems, and that's what we did.
So Ricky, do you were a big proponent, and I remember as we're coming to pre-season time, and we're coming to end this. Proponent was a good word, I like that. So seeing you puzzling, I'll pick another one. You're a big advocate of getting rid of everybody, burn it up, tear it apart, and start again, bringing a whole new squad. So I suppose in some ways, on Wednesday night, we've done that. We had 8 new players starting, didn't we? We had only Butland, Danilo, and who was the other one? Butland, Danilo, and Suter. So they have ripped up, started again. And I suppose there's 2 questions there. One, when you've got Tav, Raskin, Diomande, experienced European players sitting on the bench, was that a good decision? And secondly, they don't look like they quite know the expectations of the club yet.
No, because when I said rip it up and start again, I still think we've done. If you said to every Rangers fan at the end of last season, well, we're going to move on all these players and bring in all this money, I'm sure every Rangers fan would have said, brilliant, this sounds great. But unfortunately, as we spoke about on the last pod, Gary, we had to rebuild the spine of the team with experience. We should have brought in the leadership group, which should have always been the first thing that was completely ripped up. 100%. That's how you change the mentality in the dressing room. This pish that Russell Martin is talking, selling to us, that he's going to instill leadership into players and they're suddenly going to become Robert the Bruce and William Wallace and whoever else leaders, Spartacus in midfield, because Russell Martin is telling them, is just, that's no how. That you, Gary, you're the same as me. Like, we're in leadership positions. You're either born a leader or you're not born a leader. You can't make a person a leader, maybe with experience and stuff like that, but it takes a very, very long time. But you work with people. Some people are very happy just to turn up to work and do their job and get their wages and just be a mouse. And other people, but leaders, you can tell if a guy's a leader within 5 minutes. So him turning around to us and saying, oh, these players, what was the words he used again about the camp, the mood in the camp? There was a word he used again. I can't remember what it was, but anyway,
not harmonious, not harmonious. Was that?
Yeah, not harmonious in the camp, and that's going to come after the window closes and stuff like that. You need to build, like Connor Cody is a leader, right? The right side of the fence, he's looking like a much better shout than Jigger the way that he's performing just now. So that was the sort of characters. You needed 4 or 5 of them in the dressing room, and you needed to build your spine. We've done everything. We've brought in way too many players from the lower leagues in England that we know don't work before. I like some of the players that were brought in, but Rangers is a massive, heavy jersey. It's a very difficult jersey. I'm hearing the pundits that that I've seen. Like, I heard Chris Sutton, I know he's an absolute tube, but he was going on about Aaron saying that he saw him playing for Norwich and it's a complete different kid that's playing for Rangers. I heard someone going on about Rothwell saying when he played for Leeds, it's a complete different kid that's playing for Rangers. But these are big clubs they've played for in the past. But you come to Rangers and it's such a culture shock for them. And maybe some of these guys maybe just need a bit of time to get used to it and stuff like that. But for me, Gary, we always needed to start with the spine, the leadership group, keep a few players. If you're going to get rid of Raskin and go and rattle Tav's cage and get piss off Diamande, you know that they've got their own little clique because they all speak French in the dressing room and stuff like that. And that's fine because they're foreign guys. But if you're going to completely rattle them and annoy them and stuff like that, you better have a backup plan and a sure-proof 90% good plan of players that you're going to replace them with in the team. And his problem is none of these players I don't even think are communicating that great in the team. And it's all just a big mess, Gary. Hopefully with time it gets a bit better, but that's my problem with the players that were brought in. It's starting to look like, and to be fair to all Rangers fans, it's very difficult to judge recruitment. We're all reactive. This player's shite, this player's amazing. Ant-Man's the new, much better than Cherny. This, Rothwell's shite, piss, we're all reactive. Well, that's what football fans are. But as a team, Gary, we've got worse since the Leipzig game. The Leipzig game was amazing. No, Leipzig, Jesus Christ, behave yourself, Ricky. The team, who was the team? Pilsen, sorry. The Pilsen game was really good when we beat them in Europe. And then since then, it's just went absolutely downhill. And it's getting worse every time we watch them play. Martin's telling us it's going to be roses and ice cream, and all we're seeing is dog poop and whatever else and the bags of sick, mate. It's terrible. So it needs to get better.
So, Cameron, I'm going to come to you in this then. So, talking about transfers, so Ricky makes a fair point that we bought 11 players, I think, and if I remember rightly, only one of them is over 25. The spine of the team is, the defence is what, 3 players that are on loan, pretty inexperienced. Now, Russell Martin doesn't buy the players, just to be clear. MD's watching this on the thing. Russell Martin has very little influence on who's coming to the club. He's made it quite clear as the coach and maybe gets a bit of a say at the end. Do you think in some ways then the recruitment, not necessarily they're not good players, because it may be good players, may turn, as Ricky says, good players, but the types of players and the timing of the ones they've bought has maybe not been the right approach?
I think the approach is fine because, let's be honest, we need to buy young players so that we can potentially sell them for bigger fees, because that's going to be our main source of income as a club. So I can see that approach. My only thing with it is you do need to have your over 30s in there, players who have been there, done it at big clubs. So, for example, Calvin Bassey, if he were in this squad now at 2021, I don't think he reaches the heights that he reached for us, purely because there's a lack of leadership in this team. So you look at Bassey, even just a couple of years ago, he had players like Goldson, Shagger behind him, Stephen Davis in front of him, Balogun, leaders who could help walk him through a game during whether it's the last 5 minutes of a game or when he's gone through a rocky start, something like that. We haven't really replaced those voices. I know that Goldson wasn't the player that he was and Balogun was getting on, but you do need to replace those players. You need to bring players in of that experience. So I can understand the model that the club's gone for, in the sense that you need to buy young players, but you do need a mixture of experience in there, especially even just from experienced players from Scottish football who understand the demands of the club. But it seems to be there's still a little bit of snobbery, I think, within Rangers towards those types of players.
So, Scott, I suppose when we obviously Giga does look like struggling, started really well, and then we'll talk about that. Connor Cody was supposed to be that experienced centre half that we had. I think there was a lot of talk. Well, Russell Martin, for some reason, decided to hold out an olive branch to Tav and tell us that he was the one. And to be fair, in that game, he probably was one of the only ones showing a bit of courage and leadership to take the ball. But it's been interesting over the last 6 weeks how he's trying to phase him well out of the game and made reference both today and on Wednesday night. He's kind of trying to bring him back into the fold. I don't know if that maybe tells a bit of a story from the inside the club.
I think maybe Gary, behind the scenes, he keeps telling us everything's fine and harmony's there, and it's going to take time. We're going to have to suffer some pain, all this kind of nonsense. And we all knew it wasn't going to be great, but we didn't expect it to be like this. But I think you have to, for his own sake. I think he'll have to reach out, because I don't think he looks as happy as he did last week. But that's just me.
Looks miserable. Looks like he's feeling pressure.
I hope he gets more miserable, because I'd like to see somebody else say it, to be honest with you. But listen, if he can turn this around, fair play to him, because it's going to take a hell of a lot of work to turn this around, because he's got the fans or supporters. I don't know. He always says fans and then supporters. I don't know who he means. He's got them against him straight away, and probably a good 90%, if not more, of the fan base already don't want him here. And I've nothing against him personally. I don't know the guy, so I can sit here and slag him all I want, but I don't know him personally. He might be a really nice guy to know personally. But what he's doing for the football club that I pay money to go and see, and everybody else pays money to go and see, or watches it at all different ways, or I watch it in the house when I can't afford to go. What I'll do is I want my team to win, and I'm not seeing that in the park. I'm not seeing any good products. And if that's the case, the person who gets the most abuse is the manager. But I know for a fact that Russell Martin, when he came in, gave the board, and you're right in a way with the Thirlwell who's got and Bird, they have players because they can't find guns, so they're going to look at that market first and foremost. And so is Martin, but I know he gave them a list of 5 names, and he got 4. Another one ended up at Wrexham. The rest of them might not have been his signings, but he got 4 of his signings. And these guys, you have all alluded to, might be good players, but coming up and playing Scottish football for England, a lot of their players are commentators, or media, or even just football people in general, look at our football and think it's not great. It's a farmer league, blah, 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 blah. You hear a lot of difference. Probably Cam can tell you more, because he's more into probably social media I am, and a lot of his mates are younger, so he could probably tell you a lot more. But I just don't think when they come up here they expect it to be tough, Gary. And I think Rothwell, Aarons, I've got a shock playing for Rangers. Because playing the Leeds are a big club, playing at Norwich in the Premier League when they played their Bournemouth, that's a good level of football. But coming up to play for Rangers in the SPL, you're like that, wow, because in the English Championship and the Premier League, you get 1 or 2, 3 seconds on the ball before somebody's in the back of you. Up here, you don't get that time. And I think they're really struggling, especially Rothwell. Rothwell liked to sit and dictate play at times, we were told. With Leeds, they look good playing off the 6 or playing as an 8, and Leeds has a lot of good energy in their team. But coming up here, he's been asked to do a lot of work. But for me, he's got the technical ability, but he's not got the legs in Scotland. And you need the legs to play there. That's what I feel anyway. So I think, as somebody mentioned, Joey Barton, he's a prime example. He came up here with a swagger, went home, his tail between his legs, didn't he, very, very quickly. So, I think Martin will get tight, to be honest with you. I think he will get another wee while, unless on Sunday it goes dramatically wrong. But I think he will get another wee while. Can he change it? I'm very, very doubtful. But the players he's bringing in, some of them are decent players. But you know yourself, Gary, you've always said that every transfer is a gamble, so it doesn't matter who they bring in. But at this moment in time, it doesn't look good for Rangers Football Club, and it doesn't look good for the fans. Now, in the day, all everybody wants to see is us winning games. We don't care who the manager is or who the players are. We just want to see us winning football matches, and it's not happening at this moment in time.
So, Ricky, two questions on that, and just picking up what Scott was saying. So, I think Russell Martin, his press conference, if I remember rightly, earlier on, talked about the pressures of playing for Rangers, and some of them are still struggling to adapt. I think it was him or Tav said it, one or two. And we know Rothwell's a good player. He was one of the best players in the Championship last year. We know Aarons has obviously been highly regarded. You know, Giga was spent for 10 million and played at a high level. So these guys have ability, whether they've mentality and able to fit in. So is there a question around given time, they may settle and adjust? And also, I suppose another point is Russell Martin does look as though the pressure has been starting to get to him week on week. And his press conference today was probably quite revealing. He looked very tetchy. Is that the word?
Yeah, no, I thought the first 5 minutes he was super, but I think he was like that. I'd never seen his press conferences down south, but what I'm led to believe, he was a bit like that with the media down south when it was in the same position, you know. But the problem for me, Gary, is I just don't trust anything he says anymore already as a Rangers manager, and it's been 8-9 weeks. He's told us so much. He's gave us so many lines. He's told us how great it's going to be. Just give it a bit more time. And I just don't see anything that he's telling us on the park. And none of us have seen it, From the Pilsen game was really brilliant. The Pilsen game was positive. We won 3-0. We were all excited. We're like, okay, we've turned the corner. And since then, it's got worse. Every single match, it's got progressively worse. He's trying different players. It just looks like it's just a weird thing that he's asking them to do. I think he wants the players to be in certain spaces all the time. And I think it's just freaking the players out because they don't know what space they're supposed to be in. You look at the goals we're conceding from set pieces, man. We've brought in a mechanic from Coronation Street that was the manager in Coronation Street as the bloody set piece coach, Mike Williams or whatever he's called. How did we bring him in as the set piece coach, mate? Honestly, the goals that Brugge were scoring against us is the same. It's the same. Our players are marking zonal, but they think because they're marking zonal, they don't need to move. They're just static when the ball comes into the box. It's always the smallest player jumping with the largest player. And it's such a mess when it comes to set pieces. Our defending, Gary, we're so high up the park with defenders are all over the place. Aarons is at left back. Suter, as someone said, is like he's a defender in a bricklayer's body trying to defend. And it's like, you've got, and it's I think the whole team is just so confused with what he's trying to do. And the problem is ego is such a narcissist that it's everyone else's fault and he doesn't want to change everything. So rather than watch the videos and go, right, guys, we're going to tweak this, we're going to change that, go like Celtic on Sunday, go man for man at corners, go man for man, try something different. Pick up the players that are going to be playing for Celtic. Just get Suter, you pick the biggest player up. Jiggy, you pick the biggest player up. If it was signing this Cornelius or whatever his name, you pick this player up. Just keep it simple. Try and change things for the players to not put too much information in their head, Gary. I am absolutely, I was going to say shitting myself, but I just think Sunday, if he does what he did against Brugge, it'll be exactly the same outcome against Celtic, mate. And for my personal opinion, that's exactly what he's going to do because he doesn't know how to change it. His ego is out of control. He's one of these new type. Amaron's the same at Man United. They just think that they have this idea in their head, and if players can't quite grasp it, then it's everyone else's fault, and they'll just bail out. And he'll probably get another job. There's no way Martin, by the way, survives. If Rangers go behind against Celtic on Sunday and Rangers lose that Old Firm game, Martin is getting no more time, no matter what anyone thinks. Ibrox will be toxic like nobody's ever seen it before. And you guys know that. All the people are speaking about, for a Rangers away support in Europe to be singing that about a Rangers manager has never been seen before. Even even Bale, even managers before. So Gary, we're at a new low now, and there is no way he is surviving on Sunday if we lose to Celtic. And just get that right out your heads.
I never said that.
Ricky, I'm sure that happened to Pedro when we get beat in Europe. But I will ask you a question, Gary, before you go back to your thing, mate. When he was asked a question today, Doug brought it up, I remember it now. He was asked a question. I don't know who asked it. It might have been Tom English, whoever was there. But what he's improved since he's come in. He never said anything. He said my players and my backroom staff and all that. Now, see a manager who's confident and a manager who's done stuff, they can come out and give you 3, 4, 5 things. They say, well, I've done this, and I've done this since Quinn. He never said anything. He wouldn't say anything, which to me is telling. Yeah. Because if somebody, a decent manager comes out and says, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, you may not see it coming in so far, but he never. He always alludes to something. As long as my staff know, my players know, he never comes in, tells you stuff, and that to me is quite telling for somebody who's made a big professional football manager. Unless he maybe Tom English, I said to him, right, come across some PowerPoint and show me. He might have done it then.
So, Kerr, what's he supposed to say, man? We got pumped 6-0 by Brugge and we've not won a game in Scotland, man.
He could come in and say, I've set all this up in the training sessions.
The players are eating better.
I've done all this behind the scenes.
So on that then, right? I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think, one, I suppose that I do get what you're saying, but I also think there's a bit of a pile-on with some of the questions. The more you ask
It was,
negative
Gary. I
questions,
agree. I agree with you there. Yeah, I agree with you there.
so
But
if you're getting,
I just think to defend himself, he should come out and say something.
but if
Even
you're
that
under pressure, see on a human level, if you're under pressure and you're getting piled on by everybody left, right, and centre, I mean, it can be hard to be fair to him. I'm not defending him as such, because I do think he should have, but one of the things you said last night, I just stuck my head and I seen a comment that the Hibs play a great side, great football. Now this, somebody said in the comments a year ago today, Hibs wanted them sack David Gray because he was terrible, the worst manager they've ever seen. He's been dreadful. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I think you were sent a message last night when we were chatting about look at this Hibs side now, how they play football. And I'm not comparing like for like. I'm just saying I suppose there is different ways you can look at the same subject.
there is, but if I was Russell Martin in that situation, even though I've not been doing well, I've come out and defend myself and I've come out and attack. I wouldn't sit there and just take it. But that's maybe just me.
I'd agree with you. And Cameron, I think I think he does look under pressure. He does look a bit ruffled, and he looks. I think he said himself, it's the hardest week he's ever had in football. I think was his words or something along those lines. So press conferences are always good when you're winning. They always sound good, and fans think they're great. When you're losing, everybody picks the stuff that the guy says and says it's rubbish. And we've kind of we've criticised him for saying too much. If he did say that the food's great or they're doing great training and great patterns of playing and all that stuff, he'd get slaughtered for that anyway as well, would he not?
Yeah, he can't win with that question. He cannot win with that question whatsoever. If he gives an answer and he says, "Oh, I think we've done this better," people jump on him. So it's quite a tactile answer that he's given. Is he's basically said, "Don't ask me, ask my staff." So I can see why he's given that answer, because regardless of what he says, people are going to jump on him, aren't they? If he says, "Oh, I think the front line's performing better," we're all going to go, "No, it ain't. What are you talking about?" So I think his attitude quite clearly was, I'm going to try not to say anything which is going to get me in trouble as such. But the one thing that I do have to, I said to Scott earlier today, it seems that only in football would you interview for a job and say to an potential employer, right, I'm going to join your business, but I want to bring my entire new staff. I want to get rid of all of your staff and bring in my own employees that I want, that I will choose, and basically rip everything up. Yeah. You get laughed out of the interview room, wouldn't you?
Aye. What were the tools you've got?
Exactly. You would get told, no, you've got a couple of tools there, which are your best assets. You're going to work with them, and we can make tweaks elsewhere. So there's assets in that team which you can work around. But to come in straight away and basically rip up the whole team, I've not got much sympathy for him, because when you have that amount of change, it's going to take a lot longer than if you just try and work with the resources that you've got. And if you get a bit of success, then it's okay. Now you can go and get your handpicked players.
Yeah. So Alan in the comments is trying to work my agenda for me, so he's wanting me to move on and start talking about signings in the game on Sunday. So we won't talk any more about Russell Martin. I think that enough's been said over the last 48 hours on him, and a lot will be said again Sunday afternoon, probably, depending on the result. I suppose the other big topic today, and we will pick it before we move on to signings, Scott, is and I'll come to you because, again, when you were up with that placard, you had Nicholas Raskin top on when you were doing it. There's been lots of suggestions now, rumours, speculation that he's not going to be in the squad for the game on Sunday. Russell Martin's comments were pretty cagey. I think alluded to the fact he's not going to be there. There's something going on. Disappointing.
It's disappointing if he isn't, Gary, the way it's ended. Listen, if we get a good fee for Raskin, I've said to you before the season started, I thought it would have been amazing in the summer anyway. If we get a decent fee from him, then that's great, because that's a business model Cam alluded to and everybody's thinking about. I mean, it's the same with Agamani and Yefty and stuff. They come in and then if you add them, they go. But I just feel it's not a great look for the dressing room. All these players suddenly... Football players have too much power. Doesn't matter what club they're at. They have. You've seen it all different clubs. United, Chelsea, Arsenal, especially Newcastle. And only one you don't really see at the moment is Liverpool for some reason. Everybody seems to be in harmony. But football players they can sign like Isaac at Newcastle, a 6-year contract. 5 years left, he's like, I'm not happy. You promised me this, and this. I want to go. And you wouldn't get away with that anywhere else in the world working. But in football, it's like you can down tools and still expect your money every week. And listen, I don't see eye with my managers in the work. You probably don't see eye with your man. Well, Gary, you're the other manager, but probably there's folk in your work. You walk by. There's probably folk at your work. You walk by and say, "Look at that big prick." Do you know what I mean? But Ricky's the same. As soon as he shuts the door, folks say that about him as well. Look at that wee prick. But no, but you know what I mean. You don't always like everybody you work with. You don't, and it's the same in a football club. You don't like everybody you play with, your teammates or manager, but there's have to be a bit of professionalism there, and that's where it's kind of. But for me, there's players in that dressing room. Obviously, there's cliques in every dressing room. There's cliques in the workplace as well. But I think it's disappointing the way some players have left. It doesn't look. It's not looking good for us. Just on paper around the media, it's not looking good when players refuse to go on the park or players are saying stuff on social media like Barami's coming and says putting pictures, Cortez, Raskin's dad, stuff like that. It doesn't look good. But listen, if you get a good fee for him, then you let him go and you try to bring somebody else in to replace what he offered and move on, because at the end of the day, no one's bigger than the club. But when I say that, that also includes the manager.
And it's always tricky because nobody can really tell you what's going on inside the club, right? So it could quite as easily be. Igaman's been trying to get away for months. Apparently, the Leo guy said today he's been talking to him for months. So there's always stuff going in the background. Raskin potentially has been trying to get away from him for months. The way Russell Martin's kind of talk suggests that may be the case. So it's easy to pick sides when you like one guy and don't like the other guy. I think that's sometimes the problem as well with fans, and that's not to be critical, but we've no idea. And I think Martin's talked a lot, Ricky, about that uncertainty with players coming out and going out and how that's affecting some of the background stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about Raskin early in the window anyway, Gary. And if Raskin doesn't want to sign a new deal and he feels like his future's elsewhere and he's got something lined up, then there's nothing you can do. My hope is just that we've got a replacement lined up to replace him. There's words about Kenny McLean coming in, and I think that we'll see if that comes to fruition. I think we're going to be doing a ridiculous amount of business scrambling around between tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. Felwell is going to be working. He's going to be on a right growler for the next 3 days, mate. His phone is going to be wild. Because if these players are all moving on, Dessers is moving on. I mean, they're talking about this kid for Everton. Oh, I don't know. He was a big signing for Sporting Lisbon. I think Felwell is determined to put his neck on the line and let someone chop his head off with some of these signings, mate, because they're not exactly on paper. I was hoping that I like Niowski as a signing, but I was hoping we were going to bring in some experience at the last minute to replace the players that are leaving, because McCoy's talked some amount of pish, by the way, in that commentary about Rangers and Ajax, him and that idiot Hamilton sitting, drinking wine, eating steaks, going, oh yeah, Rangers should do what Ajax do and just compromise 3 seasons and just play the youths. Yeah, because that's going to win us the title, mate. When our youth players... Ali, how do you not try that years ago? Even he would still be in the same division, mate. Our academy's an absolute shambles. Sorry, Willie Irvin, but our academy's a shambles. Our players are signing on frees for Airdrie, and so Jesus, Super Ali, come on. But his point is, are these players men that will sign for Rangers and stuff like that? And I think it's easy. All this talk is quite easy to speak about when Rangers are getting pumped and everything's poor and these players are men and these players are boys. But I want to see us bring in some experience, is my point, Gary, getting towards the end of the window. I would really like... people forget, Balogun wasn't a great defender, but he was a leader in the dressing room. We lost another big character like that. Dessers is about to walk out the door, who is... I'll be glad, I'll be celebrating. I'm actually going to make sure I'm going to fly to the airport to make sure he gets on the plane. But he was a leader in the dressing room as well. So even Raskin, massive character in the dressing room. So you're taking these big characters out of the dressing room, and what are you replacing them with? What's the dressing room? What is the dressing room going to look like on Monday when the new manager's going to be coming in on Tuesday to oversee the dressing room? What are we going to be left with in that dressing room? It's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be quite wild what our squad looks like on Monday when that window closes, Gary. When we get to Tuesday, we should actually change the pod next week to Tuesday, because the window closes on Monday, so it's going to be a wild.
Can you stay up late?
No, mate. 11. That's 1 o'clock my time, mate. I'm well sleeping by then. So it's going to be a very interesting last 4 or 5 days in the window, mate. And it's going to be probably next week's pod will be a big part of it. Will be our week because there's no game next week. I don't think we've got a game midweek next week.
Yep.
International break, so it'll be a good time to do a pod and look at our new squad compared to our old squad, and then discuss: are we stronger coming out of the window? Then forget about Martin. Just look at the players that were brought in. Are we stronger than when the window started? It'll be an interesting pod during the international break.
And I've got a comment up here from Doug. Doug, can you send us a PowerPoint from the Rangers Journal on the squad when you've got it done? That'd be great. That we could save us having to do any work on that. So, just to pick up your point, though, Doug, I agree with you. Transfer windows are part of football. It's part of the game. It's part of the process. However, a dozen in, dozen out, or whatever it is a different ball game altogether. When a turnover that large, it does create uncertainty. I don't think for a minute it doesn't. If you're doing the normal transitional seasons of 5 or 6 in it and 5 or 6 out, it's probably not as big a deal. Cameron, you joined this week. You've been in the chat a lot, and you know more about transfers than we seem to do. You're keeping up to date with what's going on. So I'm going to get you to talk us through the future incomings as you see it, the next 24 hours or so.
Well, obviously, one of the big ones is the Canadian centre half, big 6'2" from Marseille. Did really well at Malmo. 90% of his aerial duels. He's quite an aggressive, quite a physical defender. Left-sided, so I would imagine that would be potentially the end of John Suter, given that he's only got a year left on his deal. There's rumours around Kenny McLean, 34, on a 2-year deal. I can see that one. Picks up a lot of second balls. Is probably more suited to a number 6 more than we've got, because our most natural number 6 is Connor Barron, who I think is a good player, but very raw and does need that little bit of experience beside him. Obviously, you've got your 2 strikers in Miofsky, whose medical, I think, was done today, or is booked for tomorrow. So I would imagine the scarf pictures will come out tomorrow. And then the Youssef Chimiti from Everton. He's supposedly got a medical booked in Manchester tomorrow. He's a big lad. He's a bit of a poacher, which, given that our plan B seems to be pump balls into the box, it's probably not a bad signing to make, to be honest. I agree with Ricky. I would like maybe more of a proven goal scorer, because Miofsky, I don't know when the last time it was that he actually played a match, because I don't think he's been involved with Girona. So if you were to throw him straight in on Sunday, I think that's not ideal, because the boy won't have played much football, so he's unlikely to be very fit. You throw Chimiti in, again, the boy's not really played any football. So you're signing 2 strikers, really, who over the last 12 months have barely been playing, barely scored. I would have quite liked to have seen us go out and get a goal scorer who's got a track record of scoring goals, but it doesn't look like that's the case. There were rumours, obviously, Melier from Leeds. That's just, no, don't even think about it.
Have you dropped him, or has he dropped him?
I don't know, but I don't know. I just seen it and I thought, don't even think about it. And all you can see on social media is a 4-minute compilation of absolute clangers. From it, especially given that you've got Butland, who, if it weren't for him, we'd be in a relegation battle right now.
I don't think I will keep at this moment in time, given the fact there's gaping holes, as somebody said in the squad. I've just realised we're 50 minutes in already, and we've not even got to half the stuff, so we'll move on a little bit. Outgoing Scott, Hamza Agamani, who was a darling of the Rangers fans a lot of time, left for 10.4 million plus add-ons. You've got Dessers, I think Ricky's told everybody he's going away for 5 million. Hopefully that comes true for Ricky's sake as much as anything else. We've also got ones like Bayrami, Cortez, Matondo, King, Enciala, all rumoured to be on their way if they can find buyers for them all. Do you expect a busy couple of days of outgoings as much as anything else?
Yeah, I expect a few players, if not majority, may leave. I think Matondo one, it's maybe 50-50 because he's been injured, so I don't know if somebody will take him unless it's a loan deal. But I do expect most of the players that's not been involved to leave at some point, either permanently or on a loan, just to get them out the door, Gary. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter much you're on, it doesn't matter who you are. Majority of football players want to play. Some might be happy sitting in the stands earning mega bucks and not playing, but majority of them do want to play football at some kind of level. So I think majority of them will go. Listen, the fee for a man's a good fee, Gary, because it's 5 times probably more than what we got him for. He flattered to deceive at times, but he was a raw talent. He was good, scored some decent goals. I think it was 16 last season, but then he was called lazy at other times and done his own things at times. He played off the cuff, but to me, he's got quite a high ceiling depending on his attitude going forward. But that's the kind of thing you want to bring in somebody like that for a year, 2 years, and then sell him for the transfer fee you got. So it's good business, and obviously that was Nils Coppin that brought him in as well. So
he's a legend. He's a legend. 17 million for £2 million worth of players. He's bring him back. Where's he went?
it was the players they bought. It was the players they actually bought for actual money. Kind of struggled with, wasn't it? It was the ones that was cheaper value seemed to have success with. But no, listen, we brought in a bit of money in this transfer window. It's just how we spent it. I don't think we spent it wisely so far, but that can quickly change in football. As you know, every game it goes on, we think different. We look at the team and we get a result, we think, well, he's actually better than what we thought, or we don't get a result and we say, oh, he's fucking shit again. So, you know yourself, every game is different. But so, no, I'm happy with what we brought in so far in transfer fees. I think it's good for the club.
Do you know what's interesting? The Leeds example last year, was it? Did they sell something like, I can't remember, just pick the figures, £100 million they sold and spent 50 million in guys that were not household names and brought it and obviously won the league for there. So I bet we were already, we spent 20 and brought in 20, roughly speaking, just now. So I suppose it's better business we've done in the last number of years, Ricky.
No, it is, Gary. Nobody cares about net, though. Like, it's only the last 20 years this obsession in football. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about this the other day, man. Like, I remember going to watch Waldrop on his debut. He was wearing the purple strip in that competition at Ibrox, and you weren't thinking when you were watching Waldrop, oh, how much are we going to get for him in 2 years? You know, how much are we going to sell him on for 2 years? It's just this bothering. And it comes from the English Premier League for sure. It's this obsession about money. And listen, the Rangers fans don't care if Rangers spend 10 million, if Rangers spend zero. Kerr hit the nail on the head at the start of the pod, and he could not be. Rangers, we're in a position now. That's why fans are so frustrated. We don't care who the manager is. We don't care who the players are. We're just bored of we've not had our Rangers for 15 years. Gerrard gave us a little glimpse for 1 year. All we're interested in is a Rangers team on the park with players that are putting hearts, guts, soul. I don't think we need to, like, fans are that bothered about winning the league. I think we're realistic to think that if we were mounting a challenge and everything was we were there or thereabouts when it comes to May, fans would be happy. So it's fun. Like, we should be. If we were winning games and we'd made that money on Egerman and we made that money on Yefte, fans would be like, oh, brilliant, we've did good business here, Gary. But we've played 3 league games and we were probably lucky to get a point in at least 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. We were lucky to get 1 point in 2 of these matches, mate. That's all fans are caring about just now. Not all that our net spend is 0, or worry about that when they let the Rangers board worry about that. Our supporters, like you guys, like yourself, I mean, even me, I've spent 400 quid living in Cyprus this year, just renewed my Rangers TV, football strips and stuff like that for the kids and stuff like that. You're spending a fortune going to Ibrox every week. Give us a team on the park that we deserve. That's all we want as football fans, mate, is a team on the park that puts their heart into soul every time, that show us they want to play for Rangers, a manager that has a clue, and fans will be absolutely delighted. Then we'll start worrying about, okay, we spent 5 million, we spent 10 million, we've lost 5 million, we've lost 10 million. Gary, the books will probably come out. This is Rangers we're speaking about, mate. The books will come out in 6 months and we'll still have lost 20 million. And you'll be like, how does this make sense? Because this is Rangers, mate, you know? The books, it'll be like Rangers lose 9 million and you're like, how the fuck have I lost 9 million? You know, then that's when you worry about that shite for me, mate. I just want to see, like Kerr says, a Rangers team that doesn't ruin every weekend and every midweek that you have when you're watching them, mate.
How good would it be not obsessed over player training models and press conferences and language and stuff like that? Just actual football, goals and excitement. That's what it's all about.
If you want to make money, go and win everything. Win everything you can win. Brands want to be associated with winners. They don't want to be associated with second best. Go and win everything that there is to win.
Exactly, Cam. One last point. Thank you, Brugge, for doing us a favour, because that draw in the Champions League was so nasty, mate. We would have got absolutely pumped. At least, we would have drawn 0-0. We would have drawn 0-0 with Almaty after winding up them, and we would have got absolutely pumped in the other 7 matches. So thank you, Brugge, for doing Rangers a favour.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that. It was Cameron as I was coming to the draw. So was it Barcelona, Bayern, Arsenal, Atalanta among some of those other ones in that draw? So yes, thank goodness we are not there, and thank goodness for me and Scott for the ticket prices we probably had to deal with for those games as well. So Europa League though, we have drawn Roma, Brugge, Ludogorets, and Genk at home. Porto, Ferencváros, Sturm Graz, and Brann away. I thought it was quite a good draw. I seen the headline in the Daily Record saying Rangers could get massively tough draw, and I'm thinking, am I looking at a different one? That seemed reasonably good.
We get our shit together. It's perfectly doable. We carry on playing like we are. It's not even remotely doable. It'll just be one long ball over the top, 1-0 down after 5 minutes. There you go.
But are you excited by the drawing anyway?
I'm excited, Gary. Gary. Aye. Just because we're playing Roma. I've always liked Roma. I used to always watch Italian football, and I used to love watching Totti when he played Roma, so he's one of my favourite players. Still is, even though he's retired for years. He's not that guy, Gary, stayed at the club for 17 years and won 1 title. And I bet he doesn't get the abuse Tav gets.
Hero loser.
But no, I think it's a good draw. Like Cam said, if we can get our shit together, that's my only worry, if we can get our shit together. But yeah, I'm going to look forward to the games, and it will be good because European football has always been good for us. Maybe a Thursday night thing might come into thing because we seem to play well on a Thursday, don't we?
Aye. Do you think actually, it's not sexy, right? I was looking at the draw when it came, and it wasn't particularly sexy. Roma is obviously good, but the rest of them are probably not as challenging as last year, I would have thought.
I thought it was a great draw, Gary. I'm excited about it. I think listen, joking aside, I think Martin will be gone, and I think we'll go for a different direction with this new owners. We'll see who they bring in, but I actually think it's a great draw for us. I think it's more than doable to actually get into a position where you're in the last 8 again. Is it 16 or 8? I can't remember. Is it last 16 or the last 8?
Top 8 get through, then 16 to 20. No. 9 to 24 player playoff round.
1 to 8, and then 8 to 6 or 9.
And we were in the top 8 last year. We scraped in the bottom, did we? So if we do that again, I think with these, we'll have to see how these players react, Gary. But I think if we can get, I'll steal a word from Comont, the synergy going again at the club between the fans and everything, and if the board admit they made a mistake and we get the club back, I think we do have good players. And I look at that draw and I think to myself, that we can really do, we can get enough points to, I mean, even if we qualify the last 16 and we play an extra match, for us, that's still an achievement just to get out the group stages and then get to the last 8. And then last year we got to the quarterfinals would be superb. So I think we can do that again for sure.
No, it's a good draw. I'm happy with it. Not happy with the fact that me and my daughter's going to cost me another 300 quid for the 4 games or so, but looking forward to going to the games as much as anything else and maybe try and get an away one somewhere. I don't even know if we can get to half of those places. Austria might be the one. So Sunday at 12 noon is the first Old Firm game of the season. Now last year, Cameron, we were the better of the 2 teams, I think, domestically in terms of points and results. It's a huge game for Russell Mark. So a big game for Celtic as well, considering they've been the right sack the board as well at this point in time. So looking at the game, looking ahead to the game, what do you see? What do you think in terms of the team? What are the big calls for you that you might have to make?
Well, it'll be interesting if Raskin is in the squad because we're hearing conflicting reports. Vague about that, and then you got Sky Sports reporting that he actually trained away from the team and wasn't involved in preparation. So that will be very interesting, and I think will tell us where the land lies on that one. But I don't see anything other than the Celtic win. I really don't.
Move on, Cam.
Yeah, I just don't see it. We're too vulnerable at the back. I think you can bring in another 6, 7, 8 players and put them straight in the team. I just think that there's clearly not enough confidence and cohesion in that squad. Celtic are not great, by the way, but they look more of a team than we do.
So I think that they've obviously got more experience together and all other stuff that maybe some would argue would be one of the things we're lacking from there. So, Scott, in terms of there's a lot of big calls, obviously, in terms of players, you've not got that many defenders anyway, but I suppose you've got Tav versus Aarons, you've got Giga, Suter and Fernandes and Magomas, probably the defenders we have at this moment in time. But some of the big calls in midfield and obviously who's fit to play up front.
To be honest with you, Gary, I think it's just how we set up. I think the players he's going to pick is the guys he's going to pick. He could change it, he might keep it the same, but I think it's how we set up. I think if you set up like we've done recently, which 99.9% we will, I think Celtic have the players to pick the holes. Other teams I've picked, like St Mirren and even Ali at a point, I've picked holes that, like I mentioned before, it's just a straight long ball at times, and that's the hole you're picking. I hate saying it, but I don't see us winning on Sunday. I think most will get a draw. If that, unless we go to Ibrox on Sunday and we dramatically see a big change. But I don't see it. I don't think they're great, no, but they're still better than us. To be fair, I mean, we struggled against Dundee, St Mirren and Motherwell. And I think Celtic don't concede many goals. I know they've not scored a lot of goals either, but they don't concede many. I mean, Carter Vickers is probably the best centre-back in the league at this moment in time. It's supposed to be Ida's away. I don't know if he'll be away for Sunday and they'll have somebody else up top but by all accounts, I don't know how they're getting 7 million for him. They bought him for 9, but they managed to get 7 back, which is robbery both ways. But I think we'll struggle, Gary. I think we will. I think unless Miloski comes in and starts, then I think Danilo will struggle. Because Dessler struggled constantly against Carter Vickers and Skills. Because he tried to play physical, and Danilo, to me, he'll just end up one of their back pockets. He's not good enough. So I think we will struggle up front. And we'll have to rely on the midfielders, and I think they've been struggling as well. So it could be a long day on Sunday.
So, well, this is where I do get positive before I come to Ricky, and Ricky's always good with team sheets and things like that. So you're not telling me Gassama against Anthony Ralston or Ant-Man against Tierney for his dowries on, things like that, before they bring on the Scales move to left back. They've not played with, if I talk to any Celtic fan and they're not playing with either Karat or Matty, 2-0 draws. So they're not particularly in a good place. I know the better results at the start of the season, but they've been struggling as well. I don't think either team was two. What's that saying, Ricky? Is it two?
Two tramps fighting over a bag of chips.
The other one. So it's potentially got the makings of a strange game for both teams struggling to perform. But Ricky,
yeah, I mean
that's big choices.
Yeah, I think they're at the end of the dregs of Ange Postecoglou's when he went to the Asian market and signed really well. I mean, what people forget is they got it right for one or two windows when Postecoglou came in, and he did sign some really excellent players from Asia. But they all want to leave Celtic now, and you can see that the way they're performing. Maeda, Hatate, they've came to the end of their cycle at Celtic. So. But the problem is, Gary, like they're there for the taking, right? They're ripe for a pumping to get the Sharks out. But we have a manager who is just so determined to tell the world that he is right. He's shouting into a cave or an echo chamber, I am right. My formation is amazing. So every match we're going into, we'll want to see it. I thought he was a bit more reserved today in his press conference, I was happy to see. He wasn't making bold statements like you're going to see on Sunday. Our team's going to click on Sunday. It's going to be amazing on Sunday, right? So the Celtic are there for the taking. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when the game kicks off. I understand fans' trepidation, thinking that Maeda is going to get behind this or this is going to happen, but they're missing big players with injury as well. And this doesn't normally happen. They're normally full strength going into Old Firm games, and we're the ones that have got 5 or 6 players out. So we should be at full strength this time. You hit the nail on the head. Ralston is an absolute donkey at right back. They're moaning about Tierney now because they're realising that after his glass hips getting replaced about 16 times, that he's not the player he was when he left. to go down the road. They're missing Greg Taylor and stuff like that, and I always thought that would be the case. So they're a weaker team than what they've got. They're probably maybe going to bring in one or two. I think Rodgers has stopped. He's actually stopped that either move just now because he's worried that they'll sell him and they'll bring another striker in. So I heard that he's got no faith in that board, Rodgers. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when we turn up on Sunday. And the problem we have is Rangers are due their fans a performance, the players, and Celtic are due their fans a performance. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we kick off on Sunday. I'm going to the pub to watch it in Cyprus with a few, so it should be a good crack. So I'm looking forward to it on Sunday, mate. So I'll be positive since everyone's going on about. I think I'll go for a Rangers 2-0 victory.
So in terms of lineup, Ricky, any particular ones, Tav or Aaron's?
No, it's got to be Tav. He's got to be. I mean, Jesus, quickly, it's got to be Butland. It's got to be Tav. If we sign this new boy, I would actually move Suter to the right centre back, and I would play this new boy at left centre back. McHomo will be left back. I would go and say that Raskin in the squad is absolute suicide. You've probably got to go Rothwell and Barron and try and keep it a little bit. It's an old firm game, mate. You just kind of have huge open spaces. And then probably Cameron for a bit of energy in midfield. Drop Ashgard just now because he's still getting back up to speed. And then your front three would be Gisama, Miovski and Ant-Man. But Curtis, I would like to, I don't know, maybe even Curtis, maybe throw a curveball in there and give Curtis a start because Curtis looks a lot more motivated and a lot more switched on than what's his face than Ant-Man does. So maybe just keep Ant-Man. Moore, absolutely no chance, mate. He will look like I taught my little boy to swim last week with rubber armbands, and I just chucked him in the pool, and I was there. His mum was freaking out. That's what Mikey Moore would look like if you chuck him into an Old Firm game on Sunday. It would be he'd be flapping away, it'd be an absolute disaster. So forget about that, man. Spurs would be on the phone on Monday. Get that kid out of the deep end and get him back to Spurs now. So forget about Mikey Moore. We need a core of players that understand this fixture, Gary, that know about the atmosphere, and if you don't start Tav and you start Aarons and you've got Jigga in there and you've got no old players in there, the only option you've got is Suter, and that is it, mate. This team will get absolutely swallowed by the occasion, 100%. So it's important we keep a few old heads in there, maybe even a Diamande back in midfield. So that's us. We're playing 13 players there, mate. So there you go.
No, I agree with you. I think, I'm going to come to you, Cameron. Any changes? That Diamandi's one I'd probably bring in just because he actually does perform pretty well in Old Firm games.
Yeah, he does do. I think when he operates in space, he's pretty good. The only issue is when you give him time to think on the ball. That's when he's a bit of a problem, to be honest, wherever I've seen of him. But again, I just don't think he suits. The thing is, you've got Dio and Raskin who formed quite a solid partnership towards the end of last season. I think if you play Dio, you've got to play Raskin as well in the 2/8, and then you probably stick Barron as the 6. To be quite honest, that would be my pick because Barron gives you a bit of energy, gives you a bit of heart. He's not great on the ball, granted, but I'd rather him there than Rothwell because he'll run for at least over an hour, non-stop, and then the back four, I think it picks itself. To be honest, you stick Tav in there, Giga, Suter, and McHomo. They're really the only options that we've got, to be honest. I agree with Ricky. I'd like to see Curtis given a go. Bit of unpredictability. He's got a point to prove. I don't understand why we signed Mikey Moore in the first place. I think that's a massive slap in the face to Curtis, if I'm honest. But that would be my pick. And if he's still there on Sunday, I'd start Dessers.
Yeah.
100%.
And get scoreline prediction then, Cameron. I know you said Celtic are going to win, so you may as well tell us what you think.
All right. Well, I'll give you two scorelines. Right. If being pragmatic, I think Celtic will do us 3-1. But if I'm being optimistic, I fancy us to win 2-1.
Yeah. We will bear those two in mind for Monday's episode then. And Scott, you're the same for yourself. Do you know any particular changes, any curveballs in terms of team lineup and your score prediction?
I think you'll just go with something similar to you've been using, Gary. I think everybody wants Tav to come in, even though everybody wants Tav to leave. But it's at that crossroads, isn't it? We don't want Tav at a club. And to be honest with you, it shouldn't be, but it's not his fault. Recruitment's been bad. But I think you have to play Tavernier. But I've got a sneaky feeling he's going to put Aaron through this bad run just to get him more. That's what I feel, because he's one of the players he wanted. The other three are going to be similar, because I don't think any players we sign between now and Sunday will play. I think it's far too late to throw him in. I know he done it with Mahoma, but I think you had to, I think. But Miovski won't, the other centre back boy won't. I could be totally wrong, and hopefully I am, but I don't think he will. I think midfield will be, I think Rothwell will start. I think Asgard will start. And believe it or not, I've got a sneaky feeling Kieran Dill's going to be playing somewhere.
He's injured. There's no
I
injured.
must-
No, he's
Yeah,
injured somewhere.
injured. Very serious foot injury.
I thought he was back training, no?
No, very
No,
serious
there
foot
you
injury.
go. I was wrong, and thank God for that. But I think Asgard and Rothwell will start. I don't know if Cameron will start after the night, because I thought he looked shattered, and I don't know if it's off a slight injury. So if he doesn't start, you maybe have to play Connor Barron. I don't think Raskin will be involved at all. I think it's past that stage with the two of them. I think he said his piece, the manager said to us, and I think the only thing Raskin will do now is probably leave the building. On the wings, I would play Curtis through the centre, but I don't think he will. But I would play Finlay through the centre. I think he's our most natural goal scorer. I think he's the only boy we've got out in that team, out of the full squad, that will take a chance like that. He doesn't panic. He doesn't think twice. He knows where to hit it. He knows where to put it. But I don't think he will play him through centre. I think it will play probably Danilo. But if Dessers is fit, you go with him. And I think the two wingers will probably be the same. Ant-Man and Sam. That's the two guys he's brought in. So they probably will start as well. And I don't think we'll win, Gary. I think we'll best will get us a draw. So I'll say one each, because I don't see us scoring one goal either.
Sorry, Guy. Just to cut in, I just have one question for Gary, because you seem to be the more of the optimist of the group here. If we get beat Sunday, is Martin still in charge? Do you think?
I think what you meant, Cameron's having the brains of the outfit, really, but I'll take the optimist side for there. But no, it's do you know what? I think he won't still be in charge. Whether I think being pragmatic is the right thing to do, I'm not sure. There's a bit of me thinks you do just need to let it run its course a bit longer and see if it works, because we're already in this predicament. Who are you going to get? Ancelotti's boy. Do you know there wasn't a lot of options available, so you let things kind of string along. So I think if we lose, they'll have no option but to sack him. Where I think it's going to help us any, I genuinely don't. If whoever comes in, I think it's going to be the same situation again and again and again and again until they do other stuff and let things play out. That's my honest take on it. But on Sunday, it won't matter, because I'm going to go for a 2-0 win, and Dessers will score. He will be outstanding. It'll be his last game, and he'll go away with the crowd loving him. And we'll be back on Monday night saying how wonderful life is again.
You said that in Bruges, and we got pumped 6-0, and he didn't even get on the park.
In fact, we'd have been a whole totally different game.
So it'll be 6-0 Celtic then.
Right, well, as long as we'll be fine. So anyway, been a big old episode, 1 hour 15 minutes. So my apologies for anybody that had to go to bed or anything like that during it. There's a lot to cover over the course of this week.
Apologies, Ricky. You'll be tired in the morning.
Ricky's been kept up a bit later than he wants to be.
No, don't mind, boys. The weekend, I love it.
So thank you everybody for watching. We've had lots of viewers, lots of comments. We will be back on Monday, hopefully celebrating. So it's because it's depressing talking about bad results, talking about negative things. Let's have a win to talk about, Rangers. Come on, Russell Martin, please get us a vegan sausage rolls after it. Go and celebrate the fun of it. Go and what's a Green Party conference, whatever happens after it. Get us a win, get Ibrox rocking. Do not go lose the first goal. So lose the first goal, it's going to be horrible in the place. And 3 points behind come Monday evening when we're back on, hopefully, all being well. So have a good weekend, everybody. We will see you then. And thanks for tuning in. See you all later.